Hey guys, welcome back to Full Circle with Joyce. If you're just tuning in, Maze, you've even missed a giveaway. Make sure you join me bright and early tomorrow from 8 a.m. and every day, Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. here on Switch TV for Full Circle with Joyce. Right now, though, we want to shift gears and jump into our next discussion. We want to talk about your pandemic survival kit and specifically look at finances. And I have my guest here in studio with me. His name is Peter Macharia Kamau. He's the managing director and CEO of Gjenga Credit Limited. Karibu sana to the show. Very quickly, you can tell us about Gjenga Credit and what you guys do before we jump into our topic here.
Thank you, Joyce. Gjenga Credit is a non-deposit taking microfinance, and we major on lending to micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Okay.
We also do lend to salaried staff like civil servants, and we are based in town, and the other branches along Ridges. And we are there to serve Kenyans. We serve all Kenyans from Mandera, Wajir to Kisumu, Busia.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So obviously with COVID, there's been a lot of disruption in our finances, and it's very important. Hopefully people have already been practicing some of these things. But for those who have just been completely lost in the process, we need to talk about how they can sustain themselves in the long run, especially because it seems the world still doesn't know when this thing is going to end conclusively. So what are some of the things that they can be doing? And I want us to begin with looking at budgeting and expenses, because life is still happening. At least maybe school fees is not, but we still now have people to feed. They're in the house longer. So it almost feels like the food budget is multiplying in some cases. What would you then say as far as how to prioritize a budget in this season?
Thank you, Joyce. The current COVID-19 pandemic calls for a lot of personal finance discipline for someone to survive, because it's cutting across so many sectors and affecting corporates and individuals at the same breath. Under the personal finance strategy of survival, I would recommend a zero-based budget. Zero-based budget. What I mean by that is, it's also practiced by corporates.
Okay.
It's a budget whereby you assume that it's mostly applied when your resources are minimal and you don't have any surplus profits.
Okay.
And therefore, it means that whatever income you have, let's say you have 10,000, you must budget all your expenses within the month, within the 10,000 shillings, including a small amount for savings, so that you can roll over to the other month.
Okay.
So that if you have shopping, you have medical, you have school fees, you have internet costs, you have all electricity costs, water bills, all your expenses must be fitted in to that type of budget.
What is the alternative? I guess the alternative now is assuming people are going to take loans or something.
Yes.
So you're saying X all of those out.
Yeah, because you see now, I'm looking at a moderate or worst case scenario whereby maybe somebody is on unpaid leave, or is about to be retrenched, or the organization he's working in has cut down on costs. Maybe they are not paying allowances, they are not paying commissions, or the flip side, whereby you're on a normal monthly salary, but now you're on commission-based terms.
Okay.
Because most of organizations have, they've not sent their staff home. What they've done, they've restructured their pay and salary structures. Because the other option is the worst case scenario whereby you are told, now we don't have money, we shut down the business.
Right. So in this zero-based budget, just take whatever cash you have.
Yes. Yeah. If you are told you'll be working on maybe on half pay, and your total salary was 20,000, but now you are set to be getting 10,000. Now restructure everything and fit into that 10,000.
Sometimes that means moving houses too, though.
Exactly. Because if maybe your house was 10,000 and your salary now is 10,000, you have to restructure actually you have to change your lifestyle. You have to stop using your car, fueling your car, you have to move houses. You really have to, if you're buying household items worth 7,000, you now have to change to 5,000.
Okay. And for those, so that one is assuming someone is still having some sort of income.
Some income, yes.
For those who've been maybe retrenched or they don't have an income coming in anymore right now,
Yes.
how do they then budget for the long term? Now, I guess they'd have to rely on their savings. So is there sort of a measure, maybe a calculation, a percentage you would say to try and use, you know, because I'm assuming you'd still need to sort of adjust your lifestyle so that you're not just depleting your savings entirely. How would you suggest they go about now having to tap into their savings?
Now, there are several strategies. Number one is you look at if the savings was maybe 24,000, or I'm just giving an example. You spread it to, let's say, 1 year. You divide it by either 1 year or 2 years.
Okay.
So that you're able to know how much of that saving can you tap on a monthly basis. Now, from that amount you're able to tap, maybe it is interest out of the savings. You work now, you budget on that.
Okay, so
Yes.
spread it out for at least a year.
A year or 2 years, or 18 months.
2 years. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Then whatever portion you get per month, you now apportion your expenses into that. Then number two, you have to be innovative and creative. Because fine, if you are not reporting to work, you just can't stay in the house like that. You need to be innovative.
Find something
You
to
can, if you're a lady, you can start baking cakes and selling them.
do. Okay.
Or if you're
Or
in
a gentleman can
yeah,
bake
they
cakes
can.
too.
Yeah, we can. We
Yes.
can bake cakes.
Yes.
Or if you're in a rural setup, start farming. But even now, the urban setup, I've seen so many people doing the kitchen garden,
Yes.
which is on a storage design. So that innovation is very important because it helps you to now remodel yourself and
Yeah.
be
I needed to
positive.
speak about that because obviously this innovation and you know really trying to invent yourself and start up some sort of finance or find some sort of finance to supplement your income or lack of income at this time. There's a lot of people who now think this is the time to start now maybe trying out a new business or even just to start something. There's an investment cost, you know, there's some capital costs that are required.
Yes.
And obviously all of those things will come in with risk and reward. So for those then who are looking to start a business of some kind, do you recommend that in this season, and to what degree? Because you also don't want to put in a lot of capital. Maybe you've never had experience in that business. Obviously the market is down all over the place. You don't want to be taking too big of a risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I can recommend that, especially or more so to people who are skilled, because you are now faced with this unemployment aspect here, and you know, life you still need to feed. Life must continue. Therefore, you need to start looking for avenues of generating some income. But my proposal, what I usually recommend when you're starting a business, do a very good SWOT analysis. Take a pen, and a paper, sit down, list the businesses that you'd have wished to start or that you think that you can start. Then start checking them out, depending on the opportunities, the expertise you have, and all the dynamics. A good example is personally, I was employed before I set up Gjenga Credit. And I had options. I had several options of businesses to start. But having been a banker for 25 years in local banks, I opted to set up a microfinance. But I had friends and relatives who were telling me to start spare part shops, hardwares, hotels, and they were willing to support me. But if I look at the skill, the training I had, and the opportunity, the customer base, and the network I had, I realized that it's easier for me to set up the microfinance
And that's an important point because
yes.
like I always say here, sometimes us Kenyans have a herd mentality. Like we just go with the flow of what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
So very important to lean on your expertise as well,
Exactly.
because that kind of helps to smoothen your journey.
Yes.
So, there's no way I'm going to go and set up an IT business right now.
Yes.
Like, I don't know much
About
about
it.
IT.
Yes.
So you want to play within your strengths, but
Yes.
also consider how much capital investment is going to be needed, or, to start up your business. So
Yes.
be wise, basically.
Yes.
You need to think very carefully as far as what you actually can do and how to sustain it in the long run.
Yes.
Okay. So then, as we continue to consider this, I think the hardest thing for us right now is this idea of changing our lifestyles. That's a hard thing to do right now. But
Yes.
are there certain areas? Is it an overall, change all of a sudden everything, or are there key things that you would suggest? One of the best ways is to, prioritize changing your lifestyle in this area versus in that area. So, because you still need to eat. Your hunger patterns maybe haven't really changed because of COVID. So,
Sure.
would you prioritize, say, something like rent and finding a new house, reducing your rental income? Would you say maybe now you need to reduce your savings? Would you say now maybe you need to reduce, I don't know, just your other entertainment expenses? What are there particular areas that you would especially advise one to target right now?
Yes. Lifestyle is a major thing that needs to be changed. But you go back to the aspect of finances. You now need to list your wants and your needs. Once you identify those two aspects, you'll realize that there are some things that you actually don't require, like now your social lifestyle. And we are very lucky that the government has set up curfew, and they've actually put a ban on alcoholic beverages. So that one, you even if your instincts tell you that you need to go out and take one or two, that opportunity is closed.
Okay.
So automatically, that is a savings that comes on board. Then you go now to issues of travel. You can now change from personal use to group travel.
Okay.
If maybe you have a neighbor who has a car and he works near your office, you can organize, or relatives, maybe you are going to the village, organize and pool resources. Use one car, share the cost of fuel, and travel using that one.
Okay.
Luckily, another aspect that has a major savings is the issue of school fees. Schools, technically, they've been closed. So if you're paying like 20,000, you're saving a lot because you're only paying for internet and the home-based schooling aspect, which is, I think it's done through the net.
Okay.
So maybe you'll be paying like 2,000. So there's a whole 18,000, which you're saving all the way up to January, when schools will be opened.
Okay.
Therefore, there are so many areas that you can save on and maybe invest or use that money wisely for something that is going to improve or better your life.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so just to be prudent with everything. 'Cause
Yes, yes.
there may be a loss in one thing, but there's sort of a gain in another.
Exactly,
And it's
yes.
up to you to really see how you're going to balance those
Sure,
out.
yes.
Because I think one of the things COVID has also taught us, as much as there have been pay cuts and whatnot, is people have learned, hey, kumbe I can live on, less money than I thought I needed to. And
Yes.
we've had to become more prudent, more responsible, less wastage, all that sort of thing. So that's very good. Finally, as we wrap up here, I want you to talk about some of the other things that we were doing to sort of safeguard ourselves. And by this, I mean insurance policy covers. There's things that we were paying premiums for, maybe on a monthly basis. Policies, medical covers and expenses like those. Is this the time to sort of kind of begin letting some of those go in the name of hoping to save money, especially for those who are really, at their wits' end with their finances? And now you're having to choose, like, what can I live with, what can I not live with? Of course, we know it's a great thing to have medical cover. It's an important thing. But when someone has lost a job and doesn't have income and we can't see when that income is going to come in the future, is that something you would encourage them to do? Because I know a lot of people are juggling with that decision right now.
Well, it's on my part, it's a yes and no. Yes, because medical cover is very important. It's very crucial to be able to manage your medical costs. and more so now when there's COVID. Although that whoever has that cover, you need to consult and check with the insurance company and see whether they are paying they are meeting those COVID expenses. Then and know, because if you don't have incomes, you can use that money